Hey there, so this is my little makeshift setup, which isn't the greatest to see, but I wanted to, a lot of people ask what we use the cross stitch planner for. So I thought what I would do is kind of walk you through mine and what I use it for, and see if it's something that obviously can be useful for you to use. In the end, it is useful for day-to-day normal planning things, but the biggest difference with this versus a normal planner that you would buy at the store is that you can also track your cross stitching. It could be translated and used for diamond painting. It can be used for crochet, for quilting, for knitting. You can make that work for the craft that is your favorite, but it is the main focus of it, or the goal of it, was to track your own cross stitching as you go through the year, to kind of help you feel and see the progress that you make. Because I, at least, am a firm believer that if you do not have a goal or an end in sight, you won't make as much progress on anything in life. So if you, on a normal example would be for, say, your job. If you're happy to go to work, come home, collect your paycheck, but you never have a goal to learn anything new, or move into a different position, or take on more responsibilities, you will always just go to work, do the exact same thing, come home, grab your paycheck. The only time that we as human beings make further progress, minus the day-to-day routine of things, is to grow, learn, and keep something above you that you want to achieve. So always some type of goal. It could be lose 5 pounds. It could be able to walk without being huffing and puffing. It could be drink more water every day. It could be take your vitamins every day. It could be just get in a few minutes of cross stitching every day, things like that. So as long as you have they're very easily achievable goals in the long run, if you know that that's the goal you want. If you don't have a goal, then you just kind of mutter your way through things. You'll cross stitch when you can, but it's no big deal. Whereas if you're like, I really want to get this done this month, or I really want to try to do, this many stitches this month, it gives you that added little extra, even if you don't get to it. So if you say, I want to do 1,000 stitches and you only did 800, you may not have hit that goal, but you spent the entire month trying, and that gave you 800 stitches that you may not have gotten if you didn't have that goal. So that's the key, to me at least, to making goal setting and things for a craft as a helpful tool, rather than something to make it stressful. So my main objective in the Stitchy Life and in the free groups mission, we'll call it, is just to give you ways that will inspire you to feel more motivated to spend the time on the craft that you love. And for majority of people that are watching this, would be cross stitch, because that is our biggest thing. But to me, it's any creative endeavor. So if you like diamond painting, knitting, crocheting, quilting, sewing, it doesn't matter what it is. If you have the inspiration to keep trying it and keep making time for it, you will be a better person for that, because you are giving yourself time to create, which to me is an outlet for anybody. Doesn't matter who you are or how creative you think you are. If you have some form of outlet that you can enjoy, spend time imagining or creating, or just daydreaming even, it will give you space for your brain to relax from all the stress of a normal day. Then you will be able to have a healthier overall mindset for the rest of life too. So to me, the creative aspect of life and spending time on something that is truly for you is self-care. So cross stitching to me is self-love time, self-care time. So this planner is not meant to stress you out or make you think that cross stitching is a job. It's a way to allow you to create a goal, and keep yourself inspired to sit down and spend time with yourself doing something that you love, which for those listening is probably like me, mostly just cross stitching anytime that you can. So I will go through a couple of the pages that I use in the planner to track my cross stitching itself. I personally use it not only for my cross stitching, but I use it for my admin side of all of this business too. So this is my one and only. I do also put personal items in here too, so I don't have to have more than one planner. I used to actually keep 3. I had my planner for creatively crafting, and which included my cross stitching. I had my planner for work when I still had a day job, and I had my planner for life, which got a little cumbersome to carry. So I've gone down to deciding to make this one for myself. That's the reason I started this planner, was so that I had a planner that I can use for everything I need in one book. So we will go through some of the pages that are most useful to your cross stitch side of things and how I've kind of used them and things. So it starts every year with just some reflecting on big goals for the year. Again, these are not things that you will 100% achieve. I will not achieve these either. They can be big, they can be lofty. It doesn't matter if it's something you're not going to get to this year. The point is that you're making that goal and you're going to try to get there, which gives you all sorts of progress, even if it's not checking that off at the end of the year saying you're done. So I may not be able to say that I hit 50% on that pattern, but I'll be able to say I got myself to 40 and I was only at 20. So there is still room for growth and room for progress, even if you don't hit the goal, but it is a lot of fun to try to get there. So this page is just essentially doing that, making the big goals, making the big dreams, because to me, without having a plan through the year, that dream of having this big giant pattern done will always just be that, unless you set attainable goals throughout and set goals that you're working towards so that dream does come true. Because a dream is just a dream until it has a plan behind it. So that's kind of where this is. So I know a lot of us, if you're anything like me, you will have a million different ideas of things you want to do, and you'll start them all and not finish them. Myself being usually very ADHD, I will start a lot of things and not finish many of them. But I've learned that the best tool I can use is creating myself some kind of goal and plan. Then I know that that's something I need to get to, and then my brain will focus on that and will get a lot further towards it than just a whim sort of thing. So this first page, I've personally just used it for my stained glass piece, which is my big Mandy Manzano pattern piece. It is something I have been working on since I think we're at 2018 or so. The first couple years didn't get a lot done because I had a day job plus this. Now I do have a bit more time to focus, but I do spend a lot more time creating patterns and interacting with everybody in the Stitchy Light, and the free group that I still don't stitch as much as I probably could, but I do get a lot more done than I used to. So I just focus on what I'm going to try to finish for the year on this page. So that's the main thing, is those stained glasses. Other little projects I don't tend to put in my big goals because I know I'll finish them in a month or two throughout the year, and they will pop up, because as much as all of us will say we're not going to start something new, we will. And that's okay. That is still progress, even if it wasn't in your main goal for the year. For the last 2 years, have said I'm not going to work on anything but my stained glass, and both years I have started and finished a number of different projects in between, which is okay because those still got done. I still spent the time cross-stitching, so it's a win no matter what. So I like to use this page for the big lofty kind of goals. I'll put my starting points. So for mine, the stained glass ones, I just name them by the character that's in it. The piece itself has 8 across in each row, and it's going to be 3 rows down, so there are 24 of them. I'm just focusing on the first 8 because that's as far as I've gotten. So I am right now at the beginning of 2025. I had 7 of them started. The 8th one now has been started, but at the beginning it wasn't. I'll set a big lofty goal of how many stitches I'm going to do for the whole year and what my main focus is. It's not going to be what the only thing is, but it is going to be the main focus of my year, which is the stained glass. For new starts, I will put, and I've done this for the last few years, is hopefully I will start none. Other than the last of the 8 panels. That was the only thing I wanted to start this year. Has that happened? No. I have finished 2 other ones, started and finished 2 other ones, and I'm on my 3rd. So this did not happen with the new starts. I like I said, every year I plan not to, but I always start and finish something. I will put things I'm excited about in here. I will put everything. I will put things that are cross-stitch related, life related, stitchy related and the rest of the things. So obviously this year it was moving into our new home, and the journal that I'm going to create, which is an undated version of this that you can use just for your cross stitching, as well as some notebooks that are going to be available for tracking your stitch count, things like that. So some products that I'm excited about, and the things that I want to learn. I this year did not fill it out because it's been an interesting beginning of the year with a move and things like that. My brain wasn't in a space of what I wanted to grow on. So this is something I will come back to. So now that we have settled in, and I know as much as it's August, I will still come back and I'll say, hey, you know what, this year I'd still really like to, now that I'm at a state in my mind to be able to grow, because there was so much going on before. I had no space in my brain to focus on a growth item, but I will put things in here like I'm starting to get back into my exercising. I'm going to try to get a goal of, taking my vitamins every day, drinking enough water, stuff like that, as well as some goals and learning different tech things so that I can get closer to the app I want to release, get closer to the I'm not going to call it a social media platform, but a cross-stitching social media platform that I kind of want to start learning. So those are things that now are going to start to come into my brain, and then they'll be focused in on probably in 2026 at this point. But I always come back to this page throughout the year, every couple of months, and just see where it was. Again, because of the move, some of my pages are not filled in nearly as much as they normally would be. I haven't been as great at tracking this year for my cross stitching, but it is tracked on a weekly basis. It's just not transferred onto the year at a glance pages. I'll usually do this at the end of the month every month, but it hasn't happened since January at this point. So this would obviously fill in a lot more. I do tend to track the days, so I will use these as each day. Other people will just color in only when they actually cross stitch, and I'll put 2 different colors, so other crafts and stitching, because I do also diamond paint and a number of other things that I do find that those are important to know that I didn't cross stitch that day, but I was still creative in some form, and that's a key to me. So that is those pages. My finished page, I haven't filled out, but I have finished 2 items this year that I will put in here that I did in I finished in the last few months, and the third one that I'm working on. So my annual report card is where I will keep track of my stained patterns. I do not use this report card for small ones, so things that I know I will finish in 1 to maybe 3 months, I will not put on this page because it will be on the months, because there is space each month to track your WIPs. So I won't put them here because that's not likely something I'm going to have to transfer to next year. Whereas I know these are a lifelong project at this point. There will always be some. Even as I finish these ones, I will be moving down the 24. So I will always fill the really large pieces in at the front page, and then I will use the monthly ones when I'm doing smaller pieces. Again, that's something you can choose to do differently. It's all based on how you and your brain works and in your organizing, but I will put the name of the project, where I started at the beginning of the year, and what I would like to get done. At the end of the year, I come back here and I fill out the end count at the end of December, how many stitches I did, and what if I hit my goal or not. So I can add a snapshot on my big piece, see that I will get, say, if this actually happened, be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 right there, plus another 22 and another 31,000 on these 2. Lofty goal, but like I said, this would be at a glance seeing what I get done each year, or what I want to get done each year. So that's how I will use the annual report card, and then I will use the monthly report cards for those smaller pieces. So anything to me that is less than 20,000 stitches in the full project, to me is a small project, because I will get that done in 2 months, maybe 3 if I'm a little busy. So that's what I will use this page for. And then the progress trackers themselves, I will use each one for each panel of my stained glass. So this one is for Tinkerbell, and then I'll do one for each of the 8 that I'm working on. And again, this will get transferred from the previous year. So I would have had what I had last year. And again, with this, I haven't been working on the stained glass since we moved. I have, but just not a ton. So I haven't quite filled in the April to August area because it's only been small amounts, but it's all in each month. So I can very easily go back to the month, transfer it here, in bulk. So I don't have to write it here, write it in the week, write it in the month, and then every time I do it. So I will, majority of the time, end up doing it throughout the months, and then quarterly-ish, I'll pop in here and be like, oh yeah, that's what I did that month. Because this is just a big snapshot on where you're at. So it will show the name of it. I have the start date. So this one was the first one in 2018. My goal for this year, there is a spot to put your kit numbers if you do label your kits. The number of full stitches, so there's 62,208 in each of these panels. How many stitches I need to get done on average each month to meet that 10,000 goal. The stitch size and the fabric count is there as well. So this monthly one, I will not stitch all 8 pieces each month and hit each monthly average goal. I will pick 2 usually each month and then average it out to see where I stand to match that 10,000. So I'll take a picture of, so this is a mock-up of the actual pattern. This one is where I was at the beginning of 2025, and then I will put a picture at the end of 2025. If I had my 2024 here, I would show you what I did there, but it just shows fully what, because 2024, I don't think I had like any of this bottom done, so it will really give you a snapshot on what you visually finished for that year. You can also do it by keeping pictures in a folder on your computer if you can't print, and just write the names of the pictures so you can go take a look. The floss list needed is a shopping list sort of thing. I don't fill that out because I have already got the floss in a case and ready to go for it, but that would be something that's really helpful at the beginning. And then the report card for each month is simply setting your goal for each month, writing down the number of stitches you actually do each month, and a plus or minus to your goal to see. So what I do is, because I do it based on an average monthly, but I don't use that as my goal. Because I only pick 2 each month. So like in January was Tinkerbell and I think Pocahontas. So I said, I'm going to do 2,000 stitches on Tinkerbell. I did 2,300. So I'm actually up above my goal by 313. And then I use the achieved column as what's left to do for the year. So if my goal was 10,000, that leaves me with 7,687 that I still need to do throughout 2025. So this is like a running tally of where I stand as I get closer to the end. And then there's a space for when you finish it. I have obviously not yet to finish any of these, so those are not filled out. So I have this for each of the pieces. At this point, only filled out to March, but the concept is there, and like I said, it will continue as I go. I will tend to, if I'm not sure what I want to work on in a month, I'll come back to these and I'll look at where I am and pick my goals based on that. So those are all I use the big project planners for. These you can also print out of the Stitch Hub if you're a Stitchy. So if you want to use it for every project you have, you can print extras and just fold them into one of the pockets. If that's like, say, like if you're working on it in January, you can fold it into the January pocket. And then the back little doodle pages, I put a picture of my entire piece where I started. So this is what it looked like before January, like on December 31st. Because I make sure to take a picture of all of my projects. That's essentially my New Year's Eve, is take a picture of everything, and then at the end of the year I will put a picture again so I can see just how much progress I've made. If I pull back to my first picture that has a couple little pieces here, it looks incredible in terms of progress, even if it's been, we're at 8 years, but it still looks good. Even if I'm not thinking of how long it's been that I've done it, it's looking at what you've done, not how long it's taken you. So each month I will go through and I will use the front pocket I use for our Stitchy checklists. So the monthly release checklist that the Stitchies get, I also use that checklist to make sure that I post everything that I need to post. So I will keep that in the front little sleeve. I will use this page for businessy brain dumps. So anything Stitchy, creatively crafting related, I will brain dump in here. I don't usually use the shopping list just because I have most of my supplies here. Some months I follow through on the challenge, other months I don't. Some months I have to, because again, this has been a bit crazy of a year, but I do try to keep up with the challenge too, just so that I myself am playing the game. And then I will use this year's there's a checklist page, which is the same as the release page. I just use it for some notes and follow-ups that I need to do with stitchies or something. So if I've emailed them for something specific, like fixing something in the account or things like that, I will make sure that I follow up. My monthly page, sorry, I will put a total of what my stitch count is progressively over the month, as well as each days and what I work on. So this is kind of just a snapshot of the month and what I've done. I will set my goals each month here, and I will use this to kind of break down. So if my goal just says 7,000 on this one, I will break down what that 7,000 looks like in terms of the pieces I want to work on. And then I will put obviously my average stitch count. Once I finish the month, I'll play with the numbers, look at them, that stuff. The monthly report card I use the same way as the yearly one. I just transfer month over month all of my stained pieces, and if I am working on something else, it is usually to me. It's going to be hard to see. We'll go like this. There we go. I will use it as the reward piece. So any piece that I'm working on that is not my stained is considered a reward piece to me. So that is usually, I will only work on it once I achieve the goals that I set for the stained pieces. I'm usually pretty good at following that, other than with the move, my brain, first of all, I packed up my stained piece for half the time, but also my brain just didn't want to work on something that is so confetti heavy, so it is a lot more brain thinking heavy, whereas my other pieces that I tend to work on are very color blocking, so it's very simple. I call it mindless stitching, because this way I can just not focus on what and where something has to go, other than the general, I have to do 10 stitches of this and this. Like, it's a lot simpler to do something that is all one color than it is to do these stained pieces, and it's also a lot larger of a count. So I do all of these stained on 28 count, 1/1, so very tiny stitches, whereas my other reward pieces are usually an 18 count, so they're a lot simpler to see and things as well. So I use those as my rewards, or if there's a month where I just know I won't be able to focus fully and I will make too many mistakes on the big piece, I will just pick something little and work on it. So the monthly progress pages, I will use those at the end of the month and just focus on what I did. Again, it's not something this year that I have filled out religiously, just because of everything else going on. I wasn't in the space to track my life like I normally do. I'm usually much better at it. And then my pages for each month are filled with a ton of different things. I will use the WIPs notes to track my count for each day. I set a focus each week, sorry. So I'll say this week I'm going to work on Merida. I'm going to try to get her here. And then I will use the left to goal to make sure I get there. I will use the daily part is all, and the tasks is all creatively crafting businessy stuff. Any appointments I have, like with the house and stuff, are all in here. I just fill these pages and then I fill them up with stickers because I don't tend to have time to color every page. So I will throw some fun stickers in them as I go. And I will do that week over week. If I don't have notes to put in the front, it will be filled with Post-its. If I don't know where to put something, it is in a folder. And then the Post-its are in, will be on these bullet pages. And then the back of the book, I have not filled out any of the inventory stuff. I tend not to keep track of my inventory. I really should. Now that I moved and settled, I probably will, but personally I will likely do it in a Google Sheet or an Excel thing, because I love my spreadsheets. So I like to write physically for goals. That to me makes it feel more achievable. It makes me focus on it more. Same with tasks. If I have tasks to do, I have a digital program that I keep track of all of my task management, but I also write it all in here, because your brain will process things differently when you physically write it, whereas typing it. They're two different areas of the brain, and it will, I'm not going to be able to quote where I've read it, but scientifically they have proven that if you write things down, you will remember them better than if you just type them, just because of the different areas of your brain that you use when you're writing versus typing. And I wholeheartedly believe that, just in all of my life experience with using planners and always having to physically write things down. My husband will laugh because I have a phone that is obviously technologically advanced enough to have space for to-do lists, space for don't forget this, space for everything. And I will always have a post-it on the back of my phone. And he will laugh at me because he says, you realize you can just write that in your phone. And I said, yes, but I will still forget it. And I will forget to check my phone. But that post-it on the back, even though I probably won't look at it, I will remember what is on that post-it when I get to whatever store I'm going to. So that's how I feel with the planner as well. And that's why it is always on my desk. It is always beside me when I am working creatively crafting based stuff. It is not beside me when I cross stitch, but I do make sure to take a picture of my progress with my phone. And then I will, the next morning, usually with my coffee, I will sit down, I will update what I need to do for the day and what I did the night before, because I tend to cross stitch at the end of the day. So I hope this little blurb of my basic planning, I will try to do some more in-depth ones as I'm planning. So this is kind of just looking at stuff I've done in the past, but I will try to sit down, and I do want to start doing it more frequently, maybe quarterly, where I sit down and I make all of my goals, and I do that all with you. And so you can kind of maybe do yours at the same time. But I do hope this helps give you some ideas of some great uses for the planner. I do want to get some more stitchies to do the same thing so you can see some different styles, because this is not the only way you can do things. This is just the way I choose to do things. So I do hope it helps, and I hope that you find some great ways to use the planner to show the great progress you make in the year. Keep an eye out for some more of these little quick floss tube sort of things to give you some great ideas to up your cross stitching game in many different forms. So that is it for today's, and have yourself a great day and go spend some time cross stitching.